Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome to the stage Subroto Geet, President South Asia, Corteva Agri-Science, as he talks to us about purpose-driven sustainable innovation, a central pillar for addressing food security. A round of applause, please.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It's really an evening very well spent among a group of people who are quite passionate about sustainability. So really delighted to be here. Uh, and look, this is the Times Now event, right? So there's no Times Now event that should happen without a quick poll. Agree? So let's do a quick round. So here's my question. So I come from agriculture. So with a show of hands, a very quick poll on how many of you believe that you are associated with agriculture? All right, great. I think judging by the show of hands, that's broadly about 70% people. And for the 30% who perhaps didn't raise their hands, let me just reframe the phrase association with agriculture. So when I say associated with agriculture, that's not only about those stakeholders who grow or who produce, but it's also about those of us who consume. So if you look at the end-to-end value chain, those who produce and those who consume. So if you were to do a quick show of hands again, and we don't need to do it, but if you were to do it again, I'm sure all the hands would go up. Yeah. So the reason I did this was just to bring out the point, just to tease out the point that agriculture is more intricately linked to our lives than a lot of us believe. Yeah. Now, I'm going to talk about two things. The first thing is, what's the unique relationship that agriculture or food systems at large have with sustainability? And it's a very unique relationship, as you will see. We've heard a lot of speakers from distinct different industries, but when it comes to agriculture, it's a very unique relationship. So we often talk about roti, kapda, makan, 5G, and battery. These are the basic human needs, if we come to think of it today. And roti or food, still right up there. Yeah, it has got strong competition from a couple others, but food is a basic human need, not just for existence, but also for economic progress. Now, if you break this down, we see that the population on the planet is increasing. We have more mouths to feed. But interestingly, the resources that we have to make food available for them are not keeping pace. So the gap between both is increasingly getting wider. Okay? So, I mean, if you just take a look at some numbers, roughly 2 billion people on the planet suffer from malnutrition. That's a little more than a quarter of the population of the planet. About 1 billion of them are at the risk of hunger. About 50 million people suffer the risk of famine. So food sufficiency or food security is a here and now challenge that's only going to grow as we go forward. So that's one part of the equation. Let's look at the second part, and this is about the environmental impact or the impact on planet Earth that activities related to food systems cause. And when I say food systems, I'm talking in a wider context of not just agriculture, but things like animal husbandry and anything and everything related to food. Yeah. So it's believed that close to about 40% of arable land today, the soil is considered as degraded thanks to human activity. Okay. Estimates vary between how much of food for human consumption is wasted. It's anywhere between about 1/3 to 50%. That's quite a large number. If you look at activities related to human food systems, about 1/3 of greenhouse gases, about 80% of deforestation, and almost about 70% use of fresh water can be attributed to activities related to food systems. So now let's just put the challenge of food security and food, something that's very, very fundamental to us. So the challenge on food security and the pressure that it's going to face next to the environmental impact that this is going to cause. And when you put this together, the picture very clearly emerges that we have to fundamentally change the way we grow food and the way we consume food. Because unless and until that's done, we are really staring at a train wreck. Now, science, technology, and innovation can really come in very, very handy when it comes to trying to avoid that train wreck. Yeah? But at the same time, it is something that has to be sustainable. Very simply put, it has to be something of the sort that allows our future generations to come to reap the benefits and not just have the ill effects. So that's the reason I said that agriculture and sustainability has a very unique relationship. One cannot exist about the other. And sustainability is at the very core of whatever we do in agriculture. Now, let's talk about the second part, which is about what is it that we do to make sure that we are creating impact. We are creating impact that has pull and that is here to stay. Yeah? And I'll primarily talk about 4 parts of that. The first part is about making sustainability core to your very existence. Okay, a fancy term for that is making it very core to your purpose. So let me take an example of Corteva. Okay, at Corteva, we define our purpose as enriching the lives of those who produce and those who consume, ensuring that there is progress for generations to come. Now, there are 2 parts to it. The first part is about producers and consumers. So the entire value chain, the entire value stream is addressed. So that's very, very critical. Otherwise, if you're talking about sustainability and impact just at one part of the value chain, which is maybe just where you operate, it doesn't solve for a larger problem. And the second is that of sustainability. So one is about business, the second is about sustainability, because we are talking about fulfilling the needs of those of us who are here today, but leaving enough for those who are going to come tomorrow to be able to fulfill their needs. So that's very, very important. That's super critical. Now, hence, it becomes very important that sustainability is not just a satellite to our overall strategy. And there were some good conversations that we saw here in the panel about how do we really get to that. It has to be the very core of our purpose. It has to be really central to our strategy. Now, there are a couple of ways in which this can be done. Okay, if I talk about agriculture, and more particularly if I talk about Corteva, we look at a combination of 3 things. First is science, innovation, and technology. So that's one bucket. The second bucket is about education and engagement with the entire value chain of stakeholders. And the third is partnerships. So we believe that coming together of these 3 is what can make sustainability central to whatever we do and keep it going. Very quickly, let me touch upon the innovation and technology part. So we have multiple parts of the business. We've got a seeds business. We've got a crop protection business. Really good use of technology in ensuring that we have outcomes that are in the interest of the end user. Yeah, I think Vivek here talked about how do you make it sustainable? You make the consumer interested in it. In our case, it's really the farmer or the grower who's at the core of it. An example is farming techniques and seeds like direct seeded rice. Typically, you will see rice is transplanted from a field which is flooded with water. The flooding is done to make sure that there are no weeds. So there is technology which allows, and the first part, mind you, the flooding of the fields is not very sustainable because it needs a lot of water. Okay, that's not the best use of water. But there is technology in seeds which is called direct seeded rice, which allows you to grow rice without having to flood the fields. And guess what? It gives up to 25% higher yields, which means better incomes from farmers. And anything that leads to better incomes for the farmer translates into adoption of the practice, translates into a behavior change. Things like gene editing, which is a very natural progression of plant hybridization, allows us to breed seeds which are inherently disease resistant, which means lesser usage of crop protection, pesticides, and insecticides. Again, something that's very sustainable. So numerous technologies like that. On the crop protection side, we have technologies that are green chemistries, a lot of biologicals coming up, and precision agriculture, which is just delivering what you need, where, how much, and when needed. That obviously is more sustainable. It brings down the overall pressure on the land. So that's super critical. And the third part is about technology, which is where we use things like drones, satellite imaging to allow not just precision farming, but also allow farmers to anticipate disease pressure so that they can act proactively and secure their yields. So that's the piece about innovation and technology. The second part is really about education. So we have nice innovation and technology, but it's of no use if it's not going to get adopted and not going to get taken to farmers. So Corteva works with close to 5 million farmers. Through our activities and our operations, we touch close to 15 million acres of farmland. We work with 75,000 farmer opinion leaders who carry these technologies and the messaging to the end user, which is really the farmer. And then the third part, which is very crucial, is partnerships. And I'm going to say public, private, private. Okay? Because we at Corteva believe that sharing of knowledge always has a multiplier effect. It is synergistic. We need a lot of collaboration on not just the policy front, but also on the execution front. So a lot of work happens with the various crop research institutes that are supported by the Government of India to help develop plant varieties that give better yields. So that's at the work level and also obviously at the policy level. And the reason I said that two private is we operate at, as a private player, we operate at one part of the entire value chain. But there are many other private players who are operating further downstream. Okay, for example, Vijay, we should have a conversation. He spoke a lot about biofuels, and corn, one of the largest usages of corn, is on generating biofuels, ethanol. So partnership between various stakeholders in the entire value chain can lead to a multiplier effect. So innovation and technology, education and engagement, and partnerships. These are really the cornerstones of what can lead to a sustainability agenda that's at the core of our businesses. So in summary, this is a very exciting time to be in agriculture because, like I said, the need for food security is going to far outstrip our ability to be able to service it. The good part is that there is innovation and there is technology that's available, and with the right set of interventions, we believe that we can make a change where adoption of these technologies happens in a way that's very, very sustainable. And sustainability, I don't think, can be an option if we are to prevent that train wreck that's coming our way. Unless and until sustainability becomes almost a right to operate, we will not see enough traction and fast enough to be able to make a material change. Yeah. So lovely speaking to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.